Okay, round two. Hopefully this works. Yes, this is not clickbait. This was the largest job I did all year. Yeah, it was the largest job this year. And it's interesting. So this is, I'm planning on making a video about this job. I have some footage. I do have to sit down and like script it out because there's a lot to go into it. Quite a bit. Mainly because of the client. Even though it was a big job and it was a good payday, it's easily one of the worst clients I've had all year. And I can summarize the reason why in one word: communication. This guy, communication with him was very, very difficult, and I do not know why. But it was a large job. It literally, it started out for like $325, and I was like, hey, I need the article numbers, and I didn't hear anything from him. I'm like, okay. So it like this is like over the span of a week. Like I talked to him maybe twice because of just how difficult it was to get a hold of him. Yeah, it started out at $300, but he sent me the article numbers. He instead sent a receipt, and I was like, okay, there's some really weird discrepancies that we really need to kind of touch on, because it wasn't like they were the wrong items. It's like the stuff in the receipt, there was more than what was listed in the task, and I needed to know, okay, are we doing everything or just the stuff on the ticket? I guess they took care of the assembly at IKEA, so whatever he told the IKEA guy, and the IKEA guy put it in a computer and sent it over. Now this task is large enough to be a team task, because there are tasks where it's usually the packs. We're like, oh, only on the packs units we make you do team tasks, but no, it's usually over a certain threshold, a dollar amount, then they make you do a team task for whatever reason. God, there's so much to say. I don't even really know where to begin. That was just, it was just, ultimately it was an amazing opportunity to have, to be able to do a job that was worth that much. And it started out at 300 and something. And the fact that it got so big was great. All right, I'm almost at the park. What up, money bags? You would think, but you got to remember that it's the biggest job of the year. And also, I haven't really worked this month. I've been so focused on the book. Well, that's not the reason why. I haven't been working because I haven't been getting work, but I've been filling up my free time with, the promotion of the book and all that jazz. But yeah, long story short, I've worked maybe 4 or 5 jobs this entire month. So yeah, that $1,000 for one job, thank God I had that, because now it helped cover the bills for this month. If it wasn't for that job, I'd be cutting it so close, I'd be in the hole at the end of the month. So now, thanks to this job, I can meet zero. So it's not like I'm ranking in the dough, but it definitely helps. So, yo, wow, look, I put a thumbnail like that and people actually come on the stream. That's dope. All right, so I'm gonna spit real quick and then we'll chit chat. Okay, here's Macy boy. This job, like, my back is killing me since I've done it, and it was worth it in the end. I mean, obviously I don't have that money now. I probably won't get that money until sometime after the 1st because of the holiday, but yeah, dude, I'm so stoked. It really, getting a job of that scale really helped. So and I know part of the reason why I haven't been getting work is because of, and this is the most messed up thing when it comes to TaskRabbit and everything in the gig economy, it's all because of metrics. There's a lot of jobs I get, right? But for every job I accept, just as equally, there's a job I reject. I'm all about maximizing my time and my efficiency. So the number one thing is, if there's a job that's gonna last 1 hour and it's like more than like 20 minutes away, a lot of times I won't accept that job, because there's 20 minutes there and then 20 minutes back. That's 40 minutes. And then I'm only gonna be there maybe an hour. So the time wise, I always include my travel time into the overall picture. So I'll go like 30, 40 minutes for a 2 hour, no problem. But for 1 hour, it's very, very hard to justify. And then some people can say, oh, well, it's all right, Mace. You just get a whole bunch of 1 hour jobs. Yeah, then I'm spending most of my day driving from point A to point B. That's not maximizing my time. If I get 3 1 hour jobs in a day, okay, that's cool. I'd rather have 1 3 hour job because I'm driving there, I'm there for 3 hours, I'm done, and then I go. I love that. If I have several 1 hour jobs, then I'm all over town. I'm cutting it close going from one job to the next. It eats into my time. My time is extremely valuable. That's why I'm doing the whole gig economy thing. That's why I'm doing the whole handyman thing. That's why I work with clients as an independent contractor, because my time is just as valuable as my money. Time equals money in this equation. Oh wow, my ears are like doing this weird pop, 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 like pop, not pop, pop, not pop thing. What is that? Oh my God, it feels so weird. Every time I stream, it's always something. All right, hold on, let me fix this live chat. Good shit, man. Everybody loves a success story. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. The one thing, speaking about success and whatnot, my book, man, I'm so all over the place about it. Like, I'm glad it's out. From the few people that have actually read it, I've gotten amazing feedback. The problem is, and this is from people that have verified purchased the book. One of my mom's friends, his wife, bought the book, and she could like hardly put it down. She said amazingly great things about it, and I'm like, wow, really? Thank you. Put it on a review on Amazon. It's like, that's the one thing that's difficult is getting people like, it's like I need people to review the book. The problem is a know nothing, no name author. It's a very competitive field to get into. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good of a book you've written, you need to have reviews behind it. You know, I could have written the next, well, I don't want to compare myself, but I could have written a masterpiece. Fuck. Every fucking time. You better fucking move, dude. Oh my God, I hate that. I'll be at the park, there'll be no one around me, and then for whatever reason, someone has to park right next to me. I hate it. It's like I come out here, what is this dude doing? Anyway, yeah, so I just need reviews. I need people to read the damn book. If they like it, if they don't like it, I just need to know people's opinion. Well, no, all of that costs money. And Books A Million, I don't even know what that is. You mean like Barnes and Noble? So here's the thing. If I were to do a book signing at Barnes and Noble, you have to pay for all that. It's considered marketing. So, because they do that. Usually it's with traditional publishers. Yeah, so traditional publishers, what they'll do is the publisher and the agent, they'll organize a book signing, and that stuff has to be paid for. So you'd go to like a Barnes and Noble, they schedule it out, then there's promotion, like advertisements, this, that, and the other. You have to reach out to a network. Like, it's a huge involved thing. For me, like a know-nothing author, I can't. So I wish I had more money to mess around with, because I have to buy my own books. So that's another thing I get. I've gotten people like friends and family friends and friends of family and stuff like that. I've had people reach out to me on YouTube or on Facebook, and they'll like message me, they'll DM me, and they'll be like, oh, I really want a copy of your book. I was like, oh, well, it's free on Kindle Unlimited. I mean, you have to pay for Kindle Unlimited, but you can read it on Kindle Unlimited. That's probably the most cost-effective way to read the book. And they'll be like, oh, you can't just send me a copy? And I'm like, what? It's like, if you really want to read the book and you want a paperback, go buy it. And they're like, well, it's kind of messed up. I mean, why can't you just send it to me? And then every time, it's always the same. I have to buy the book, it ships to me, then I have to ship it to you. Do you have any idea how much money that costs? And, you know, it actually would cost more for me to buy the book, get it, and then send it to you than it would for you to just buy the book. You would also actually get it quicker. It's like between a week to 2 weeks for me to get the book. Like I've got 15 copies. They're not even on the way yet because everyone else that's bought the book, I think I've sold 15 copies, which isn't a lot. I've sold 15 copies of the book and the ebook. So I think it's probably about, it's like 50-50. Yeah, I'm at 50 of all the people that have read my book, 51% of people have read it in paperback. So let's say it's like 7 or 8 people have read the paperback, which is cool. But I was going somewhere with this. Anyway, so it's just so I have to buy my own books, right? And it's like $3.50 per book plus tax plus shipping. So it's roughly $5 for every book that I buy and send over to me. So I bought 15 copies and that was like $60 or something like that, to buy 15 copies and have them shipped out here. And I'm still waiting on those. They're probably not going to be here till hopefully before Thanksgiving. So 5 of those copies I'm setting to the side. And then the other 10 copies. Well, that's the thing. So if I were to go to Barnes and Noble, let's say we did arrange some book signing, I would have to still buy my book. And at book signings, you sign books that people pay for. If someone doesn't pay for my book, I'm not signing anything. That's, you know, unless it's like, oh, here. And when an author gives a book out to someone, it doesn't matter if it's free or not, or even if they pay for it. It all boils down to reviews. You need feedback. You want people to leave that verified feedback. The statistics are for every 100 people that read a book, 1 of them will leave a review. So for me, I need like half of the people that read my book to leave a review. So, and the thing is, I've had a lot of people on Kindle Unlimited actually read my book. We're at just over 2,000 pages. It's 2,185 pages. That's how many pages have been turned while reading my book. So it's either 12 people have read my book in its entirety, well, 12 and a half, I guess. So 12 people have read my book in its entirety, or there's been multiple people that have kind of been going through it. So the problem is I don't get a lot of analytics. So YouTube, their analytics are great. I can look into my individual videos and I can kind of see all the breakdown. Negative. No, I understand that. No, I get the concept. It's like this. The money I made from that big IKEA job, I don't have that money right now. I don't have any money. I think I probably have maybe like all the money I currently have in my account is just for bills. The money that's coming in from IKEA, that's also for bills. So money I have to play around with is maybe $30. I could spend $30 however I want, right? And I've already spent 60 on copies of the book. I've also spent money on marketing, which I've kind of had to close that off because here's the thing. I spent $100 on marketing the book, and I didn't go out willy-nilly with it. I did thorough research. I did keyword research and targeting. Like I did all SEO stuff, and all my SEO stuff is pretty good. The problem is I've out of $100 that I put into marketing, I've sold 1 copy of the book through marketing, through advertisement, through sponsored ads on Amazon. I've sold 1 copy of a Kindle edition, which means that out of $100, I made $1.50, $1.70, something like that. So when you look at it like that, it's like, holy shit, that's a lot of money for such a small return. And I can tell you right now the reason why. It's because of reviews. So I pulled advertising and now I'm waiting. The good news is because I advertised, it did bring my book up in ranking, which is really weird. If you don't advertise your book, it goes lower in ranking. But when you do, it goes higher. I don't get it. It's bizarre. So So basically, I've pulled the advertising for the time being, and I'm kind of like letting it ride. I'm waiting for reviews to come in. There is a free day coming up. I love free days. When it comes to the Kindle edition, I want people to read it, which is why it's on Kindle Unlimited. And I have 3 free days coming up for Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and that next Saturday. So those 3 days, that Black Friday time period, people can get it for free. Then there's another free day coming up around Christmas. I haven't picked the dates yet. It's going to be, I do want Christmas Eve to be one of the days. So I might do Christmas Eve and Christmas, but I don't know how much sales will be on Christmas. So I'm kind of tooling around with the dates. I get 5 free days for the book every 90 days. And it's kind of good to spread them out, but because my book is still relatively young, I'm trying to kind of squash them in together. So, yeah, so not this week. When is Thanksgiving? Next weekend. So next weekend we'll see. What else? Yeah, so the free copies of the book, though, so I'm putting 5 aside, and then because I have to figure out who I'm going to be sending those to, and once I finish out that list of who I'm sending it to, when are you going to release DLC for the book? March or April. Part 2 will come out in the spring. I don't know exactly when, but in the spring. There's a few things on part 2 I need to finish up, because I did make some very slight alterations before I finished part 1, and I need to reflect those changes in part 2. So nothing too major. It's just certain things I need to go in and adjust. So, but I haven't been writing since the book's been released. I've kind of taken a step back. It's all consuming. So I've taken a step back and trying to breathe, recalibrate, focus on work right now. Work and family, it's that time of year. So, oh man, there was so much more to talk about, but I'm like, my brain is like killing me. Yeah, so the other 10 copies of the book, I don't know if all 10 of them I'm gonna do this with, but at the VA clinic down here, there's a free bookshelf, and a lot of vets, when they go in to wait for their appointment, they're reading books from this bookshelf. And I was thinking of putting my 10 copies of my book on there. I would prefer it to be more. I would like to load it up with like 20 copies or however many, but that's a lot. It's expensive. Another thing I wanted to do, like promotional, would be a YouTube video, and I thought that we would get a kick out of it, is I would basically go into stores, like I would go into Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, whatever, and I would take my book, I would put like a note on the front or on the back or something, and I would just leave it where they sell all the books, you know? And, oh, here's a copy of my book. Here's a copy of my book. It's like, well, my book is in stores now, because I put it there. I haven't really thought about that. See, my thing is I liked the Kickstarter because it meant that the people that were contributing to the Kickstarter were actually going to get something out of it. Yeah, I haven't really thought of it. GoFundMe is one of those things where people abuse it and misuse it pretty hardcore. So I kind of stay away from it. Yeah, I do stay away from it. Yeah, it's like, I historically in my life, I have had a GoFundMe, and I asked for $50 for gas money. Because I had just moved out here to Vegas. Long story, but I was living in my car at the time, and I was trying to look for work. I had interviews lined up, but I got to the point where there's no more gas in my car. It was the middle of winter. It's really cold. I didn't even have money for food, but I wanted to focus. Hey, at the very least, let me at least land a job, and I'll figure out the food next. So, because I couldn't keep wasting money on anything else. So I put out a GoFundMe and I got $150 from it. Like I said, it's a very long story. So people donated up to $150. GoFundMe took their cut, so I think it was like $130 that I got. And I just opened a new checking account. And the cool thing was, when GoFundMe deposited the money into the checking account, there was a promotion at the same time where you get $200 for a direct deposit within your first 90 days. And so me asking for 50 resulted in me getting like 330 or however much it was, and it was so helpful. So it helped me with food, it helped me with gas, it helped me kind of get on my feet and establish things when I first moved out here. But that's a situation. And the thing is, because of that GoFundMe, it also got me in line with the USO out here. It got me lined up, and it eventually, that GoFundMe, it didn't just give me money for gas. It connected me with people. Like, there was this off-duty cop. He came over on his little cop motorcycle. Me and him talked. He filled me up with gas. He didn't. So I was like, holy shit, this is great. And it was so thankful for it. And then he got me in touch with the USO out here. They got me in touch with this security guard company called G4S. And then within a week of this whole GoFundMe thing, I had a job as a security guard. So by my birthday, on my birthday, I was doing the CPR safety training, all that stuff for G4S. And see, that's what it's all about. That's kind of what GoFundMe is about. It's about, like, hey, here's my situation. I need help. And the connections with the people that I made, that meant so much more for me than just getting money for gas. Like, the money for gas is good for the here and now, but the fact that I was able to get a job out of it, the fact that I was able to connect with people and something longevity with everything, that was just amazing. Let's see. You should make a video about that. Yeah, I probably should. I'm pretty long-winded in a lot of my videos, and some people just kind of get turned off on it, but maybe I should. I could do that, like a year in review, like, hey, my name is so and so, I've lived in Las Vegas for this long, here's my story of how I've gotten to where I am today. And I'm not saying that my life is perfect, but I am a very grateful individual. Like, there's a lot of things I can complain about with my life. There's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of things that could be better. But when I look back to 3 years ago when I moved out here, I'm like, I am like so much better off than I was then. The fact that, I have a bed to sleep in at night, the fact that I have a roof over my head, the fact that I have food in my belly all the time, the fact that, I can shower whenever I want, like, all these different factors kind of roll together. And I am very, very thankful for it. And eventually I found this whole gig economy thing, which I do wish I would have found sooner. But the biggest thing is money's always kind of money's always been one of those things where I can't do much with it. I've always made, like, the first 2 years of living out here, we were in the hole every single month. It was like every month was about paying back the stuff from the month before. And it was getting worse and worse. And then I got in the gig economy, and then, oh my God, getting on TaskRabbit and stuff, and it just skyrocketed. I think from the time I left G4S until I went to doing the whole gig economy TaskRabbit thing, that window, I did have an HVAC job in between. So yeah, from that time I did the HVAC job to the time, there was a weird window of trying to figure it out, and I was doing DoorDash and stuff. God, long story. I don't want to get caught off on a tangent, but it's just, I look back and I see the progress I've made, and I'm very proud of myself. And the fact that I've written this book and I've put it out there, it's like I've been wanting this since I was a kid. And I've always been the kind of person that's like, if I can't get it done this way, I'll do it my way. Like, I've always been very headstrong. It's like, I will take care of it. I will get this done, because it's like, I don't pussyfoot around, dude. It's like, if I got something to do, I'm gonna do it. Now, I don't know about that. The one thing I do kind of throw out there is the fact that I'm a veteran. And I mainly do that because, like, that establishes my history in one word, you know? Like, it's like I'm a veteran. So I've kind of lived a certain lifestyle, but I no longer do, and I'm making my way in the world outside of, like, being enlisted in the military. You know, like, just saying that I'm a veteran, it says so much without having to say, like, a paragraph's worth of shit. But I don't want to say, oh yeah, in my bio, I used to be homeless, but I'm not now. But I do see what you're saying, is that I can kind of use my history to display my platform. It's like, hey, I've grown this level of success, and this is how I've done it, because I went from this up into this. And that's kind of what I've done with the whole TaskRabbit thing, the whole gig economy thing. Well, all right, that's all right. So I'm not an SJW. I'm definitely not a liberal. I'm not a white knight. But were there whores in the army? I mean, just to, you know, yeah. But I wouldn't say that there was like a tremendous amount. It kind of, it's the same thing you can say about guys. There was a lot of male whores in the army. So I don't want to, like, shit on women too much, because it's not true to say that every girl in the army was a slut, because no, they weren't. In fact, most of them were not. Actually, the whole whores thing, promiscuous women were relatively hard to find. Military personnel, that is. As far as civilians would jump on military dick in a heartbeat. But that was mainly because you would have these local girls that graduated high school. They had no lot in life. They had no aspirations, but they lived next to a military base. Let's find a private. Let's hook up with him. Let's get him to marry us, and then we'll just be a housewife. Like, it's kind of like that whole, it's like a get out of jail free card, like get out of life free card. Because the same thing happened in my hometown. You would have these guys. I remember there was this girl, beautiful girl, very smart, very capable, all sorts of different. You can say any positive thing about this girl. I can't remember her name, but she was my ex-wife's friend in high school. When I went to drum, turns out she was there, and I met her husband, and her husband was this dorky, weird-looking motherfucker. Like, this dude had issues, and I'm thinking to myself, this girl used to make fun of guys like him in high school. Like, she was one of those mean girls. Like, this girl, that in my high school we would consider like a 10 out of 10. What the fuck is she doing with this guy? And because I remember the dude that she was dating in high school. He ended up going off to working as a mechanic or some shit. So what happened is this dude came home on leave from AIT. He knew her, because like everyone in town knew each other. And I guess they were hanging out at a party when he was home on leave, and she just so happened to be there. And she broke up with her boyfriend like a week earlier because of like some sort of argument or something. And so the two of them hung out at this party. He's like, oh, I'm in the military now, this, that, and the other. And she's like, oh, really? A week later, they were married. And it's like, so she's like, oh yeah, so he came home on leave, we reconnected, and I realized how much I loved him. And I guess like in elementary school, they used to be friends or some shit like that. And then she married him, went to drum, got pregnant. And, you know, it was his wife, and she just stayed home all day and shit. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, that's crazy. Like that story is just like you dressing up the fact that, oh, you didn't have any direction in life, so you found this guy as your meal ticket. So I thought it was kind of fucked up. But don't judge everyone's story. I don't want to be that guy. Don't judge people's story unless you know it. And then he's deployed, right? And because he was in a different brigade than me. So I'm going to Walmart one day, And as I'm walking into Walmart, I see this chick in front of me, and I was like, this looks familiar. And she's standing with this dude, and she like looks looks back at me as we're walking in the door, and because I walk pretty quick, and we're going to grab carts, and I was like, oh hey, you're so and so, because at this point me and my ex-wife had divorced, and she's like, oh hi, and she's acting all weird, and I look at the dude, and she's like holding hands with him. And I was like, oh, did you and your husband split up? And like she instantly let go of the guy's hand, and she's like, oh no, he's deployed right now. And like I looked at this dude, and I'm like, aren't you in the military as well? And like he just like kind of shrugged, because that's a big no-go. You're not supposed to fuck around with people's wives. And it was like, oh, so she's one of those. So she's the kind of girl where her husband's gone, so she's gonna have some fun. So it happens to a good handful of us. I know what happened to me. That's why I got divorced. Anyway. Was I the kind of dude who would wear fedora? Get out of life free card. I want that. Dude. Oh, what's up, Joseph? How you doing, buddy? No, I don't wear fedoras. Fedoras actually get a really bad rap. Because if you look historically, like in the early 10s and 20s, like a lot of people wore fedoras. But like modern day, like you can take a piece of clothing and literally make it trash just by association. So you have all these guys nowadays that wear fedoras, but the persona that they put on, the clothing underneath that they put on, it used to be, hey, I'm wearing my suit, I'm gonna have a hat with my suit, the appropriate hat to wear with my suit is a fedora. That's how it used to be. It used to be classy. Now it's trashy because fedoras are now associated with fucking neck, beard, mouth breathers. Either that or fucking fuckboys that look like K-Fed. So we associate now with a fedora on someone's head as like the cap to a douche. It's just the cherry on top of the shit sundae. That's the way that we associate fedoras now. Given said all of that contextual information, no, I do not wear fedoras. I don't really wear a lot of hats. There is one style of hat, I cannot remember its name, but it reminds me a lot of the PC that we used to wear. It's just the shape of it, because it doesn't like dome over, it kind of like comes up flat on the top, or it kind of like curves and domes a tiny bit. But I can't remember the style of hat, but that was a hat that I wore for years and I ended up losing it. But I love that hat, and if I were to wear hats again, that would probably most likely be the one. But I have no idea what it's called, and I haven't been able to find anything other than that. In the wintertime, I wear beanies, and I do wear a beanie with the bill, because I like the look of it. I don't do anything weird on the side or anything with it. No, Walter White did not wear a fedora. Walter, his hat had a very different name, but it wasn't a fedora. Because, oh, so y'all want to hear about this IKEA job, right? That's why people clicked on it. I shouldn't be puffing in the car, but this is the last of my juice, and the windows are open, and I have to clean. I'm not an expert on hats neither, man. All right. So this IKEA job, man, this was a big, nice IKEA job. Thankfully, I will not be in the negative at the end of the month like we were projected to be. So that's really good news. Let's see here. I'll save this. These are all trash. Because it's not my car. And the smoke that comes out of your mouth, it does leave like a light film, a residue on any surface that comes in contact with. So by a rule, I just don't do that in here. But I told myself when the book is done, when the book is out, I'll finish off my juice and then finally quit. And I've told myself this a million times, but it's always on a whim. This one I've actually planned out. So this is the last of my juice that I have, which is really kind of sad. But I have to do this for my health. I have to do this for the missus. I have to do this for the boys. So there's bigger things in this world than my addictions. So I need to focus on those. A Chevy Cruze? A fucking Chevy? What kind of piece of shit do you think I am, dude? No, this is a Mazda 3, 5? I don't know what number, but it's a Mazda. Actually, I fucking love this car. I don't like the back seat is a bit small, but other than that, it's a pretty dope car. The car looks neat. Well, it's actually not. It's actually a train wreck, which is the whole reason why I came out, was to stream, chit chat with you guys, and to clean. Not a hat. Give me a shirt. I love shirts. Yeah, you're doing real good on the channel, dude. Keep it up. And you got this whole branding thing. I'm sure that you do SEO. I vaped for almost 8 years, but I'm not addicted. I mean, that's cool. For me, it's the nicotine, you know? And I don't know. Like, we could argue the vape thing till the cows come home, but at the end of the fucking day, it's still something that you put in your body that's not good for you. Well, there's no negative health effects, this, that, and the other. And it's like, yeah, you can say all sorts of different shit that you want, but we weren't designed to be fucking inhaling that shit to begin with. So probably shouldn't do it. And I think I'd feel better if I didn't have that hanging over. You know, I have a lack of willpower in me, and I need to reinforce that I am my own master of my own destiny and have more self-control. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like everyone, like, this is like an argument that comes out of it. It's like, I say something, someone disagrees, so they cherry pick what I say to try to get me to say, oh, well, according to that definition, this, that, and the other. This is my perspective for me. I'm not saying that what I do for me applies to everyone else. That's the problem in the world, is when someone does something for themselves, other people, they take that as that person thinks that we should universally do this. No, I don't give a fuck what anyone else in the world does. I'm focusing just on me. So this is how it pertains to me and what I want to do. So I personally do not want to vape. I don't want to smoke. But I am mentally, like, drawn to this stuff to where if I'm without it, I turn into a dick. So I'd rather be without it for a while so it gets out of my system and it fades away. But I'm not gonna lie, I do like a nice cigarette every now and then, but I haven't had a cigarette in a long time, so let's keep it that way. Anyway, so No, I'm not gonna have a mental breakdown. I said I turn into a dick. I don't like turn into a psychopath. I just get really antsy. But it's taken up too much of my life and I don't need it. My kids have a bigger spot in my life than that. It's like when I get overwhelmed or stressed out, I go vape. And I've tied that association to vaping all the fucking time. So I get stressed when I'm not vaping or smoking, etc. Anyway, this big ass IKEA job. Let's talk about that. This client I do not like. It was over $1,000, which I'm very thankful for. And I fucking busted my ass. That was so much goddamn shit to put together. But man, this client was a dick. I mean, and it's not like he was rude, not like he was mean. It's just like there was no communication. Like just trying to go back and forth with him was very fucking difficult. And then when I got to the job, they wanted all this special customization shit done. And I'm like, we don't do all that. We put together the shit, we mount it to the wall, we do this, that, and the other. Like I told them everything that we actually do. But they wanted me to do all this extra, like customize the furniture. It's like, no, we don't do that. We don't fucking cut specialized holes in the backings of these things. You know, it's just not something that we do. I don't know. Him and this other girl did 2 clients or whatever. I mean, technically, it's a long story. There was like 3 of them, whatever. So these fucking people like wanted all this extra shit done, and I'm like, look, I can do this one little thing for you, but that's gonna be it. And they're like, oh, okay. And the lady was really pissed off at first because she's like, well, we close our building at 5. And I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to get done till around 8. Got done at 8:15, so it was a good estimation. And so, yeah, I'm probably going to get done at 8. And she's like, oh, that's going to be too late. And the guy was like, oh, I'll stay. I'll stay for an extra couple hours. So, because it's their office furniture I was putting together. So I took care of business. I got everything done. So not the end of the world. When you were monetized? Congratulations, that's good, man. Yeah, I've only watched one of you, because I don't, you have to forgive me. I don't watch a whole lot. The things I do watch on YouTube, there's like a short list, and these are the channels that I watch like regularly, because it's like regularly scheduled programming. So I've only seen one of your videos. And it's nice, it's edited, it's very well done. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not saying anything negative about your videos. I think your videos are great. Your SEO, wonderful. And this whole branding thing that you've talking about, I love it. It's very, very good. You're putting a lot of effort and a lot of heart into it, and there's a huge section of people that are going to be all about it. HVAC, man, it's not for me. Not at all. I do like seeing you clean the truck, though. It's like something about it being nice and tidy. Because I've driven with guys that are just train wrecks. Like this dude, I don't want to call his name out, but let's call him Jeff. This Jeff guy, I rode with him a few times at Calca, and his truck was always a fucking disaster, man. I mean, we knew where everything was, so half the battle, right? But shit was just all over the place. There was like receipts and straw wrappers and trash, and just like you'd get in the passenger seat and it's just like, it was like a garbage bin down there. So I love seeing a clean truck, because when I had my own truck, man, I was making sure that shit was clean all the time. Because when it's clean, cleaning leads to better viewing of the organization. And when things are organized, you just go in and out. Oh wait, I don't know if it was a video or just an Instagram post, but I did want to see whatever it was, if it was a video. You were up on a 17-foot building, like commercial chiller or something. Instagram photo, yeah. Yeah. That happened to me too with the 1,000 subs when that was with the Logan Paul thing. Oh, okay, cool. I'll definitely check that one out. But I do appreciate that you point that out. Well, let me talk about the 1,000 sub thing. So when the Suicide Forest should happen, that's when they made the change. Which when YouTube does changes, it always affects like people that had nothing to do with it. So I had just made, because before you make money, you get money, and I'm like, cool. And I had just started making money on YouTube, and I was averaging probably $100 every 2 months. And then they demonetized my videos. So if you look at my analytics, you can see where I started making money and then bam. So for like 6 months, it took me forever to try to gain enough subs to get 1,000. And then once I met the 1,000 threshold, I'm like, sweet, let's do it. And then it took a long time to kind of bounce back from that, because when your video is not monetized, it doesn't show up in search. Well, it'll show up in search if people put the keywords in based upon the algorithm, but for suggested. So the vast majority of traffic from all my videos, they come from suggested videos. So someone else looked at a video, but then they saw my video in the sidebar or down below, and they clicked on the suggested video. That's where the vast majority of my traffic comes from. So I'm like, sweet, dope. And there are a select few videos that I have that in those categories are #1 in search. So when people put like, like Amazon Flex vlog, like bam, my vlog video is the one that comes up. Yeah, thumbnails are a huge thing, man. Like if you have a good thumbnail, you'll bring people in a heartbeat. I've never really focused on thumbnails too much. On videos that I actually take time to edit and produce, yeah, I'll put a little bit of effort in thumbnails. I put most of my effort in SEO, because a good thumbnail, that helps get someone to click on the video. But my thing is making sure that my video is at least seen in multiple places. So I need to kind of, if I were to take it more seriously, I kind of do YouTube as like a side whatever thing. I mainly use it for chit-chatting with y'all. So I got to bring those two things together. Well, which is a good thing. So here's the problem. Here's the problem. HVAC is considered a STEM field, which are needed career fields in the U.S. Now there's a very clear problem with the HVAC industry, and I'm going to pinpoint residential, because residential, there is such a heavy focus on sales that it does make things a little rough. If we could, like, and I'm not saying, what am I saying? My personal opinion over the time that I have spent in the HVAC industry is that there is such a heavy focus on sales as opposed to properly maintaining units that it creates a discrepancy in longevity of people staying in the industry. So one of the main reasons why I got out of HVAC in the first place is because I moved to Las Vegas. But on top of that fact is I did not like the fact that when I was working residential, because I was working commission, I'm not the best salesman in the world. I love talking about the science. I love educating customers on like this, that, and the other. But you know, the goal of the company I worked for, and it was a great company, don't get me wrong, but hey, you have to pay the bills somehow. So you have to be profitable as a company. I totally get it. But for me to go to every single job and be like, you need to average $100 sale per job, or however much, you know, I need to sell $1,000 worth of stuff in one day just to make $100. And it's like, dude, that's, you know, so I've got to go and try to sell variable speed motors, this, that, and the other. Now, when it comes to my thing was non-ops. I could sell on a non-op any day of the week. It's like, oh, you need a new capacitor, or, oh, let me put a hard start kit on you. I would recommend getting a new compressor, at which point, if they are interested in getting a new compressor, they might as well get a whole new unit. You know, but for the time being, we can get you a hard start kit. It should last you, you know, through the summer. But by next summer, you're probably going to look at a change out. Like those are the things that I could sell no problem. things that were involved with making the unit functional. The hardest part was to go to just a general maintenance and try to sell something. Because a lot of times I would go to a unit that's probably a year, 2, maybe 3 years old, filters have been changed, there's nothing that needs fixed. So then you have to try to sell them, let me sell you an electronic filter, let me sell you the UV light, like an air scrubber or something. Like doing all of that stuff was really, really difficult for me. And a couple times I was able to sell those extra things. There were times where I have been able to do like variable speed motor change outs, or installing variable speed motors and stuff like that. Like these were things that, you know, didn't happen very often. So one of the hardest things was this woman, her husband had died like earlier that year, and I guess she didn't pay her property taxes. They put a lien out in her house, and in California, it's been so long I can't remember the name of the program, but there's basically a program where you can get a brand new HVAC unit, top of the line, but they just add the payments into your property taxes so you don't really notice it. It's there, you're paying for it, but you just don't know. But she couldn't even get approved for that program. And what happened was her heat exchanger, like we went for a general maintenance, and I told her when I got there, I'm like, can I show you something? And I showed her heat exchanger. It wasn't like you had to go, I didn't have to do an inspection camera. I didn't have to do an inspection mirror. No, it was right there. You open the bad boy up, big ass fucking rusted out holes, which tells you something, that in the history of this unit, there's been some poor maintenance on it. Because it's one thing to have a hole, but to have rusted holes, I mean, where's the rust come from? Well, it comes from water. That coil's been icing up over time. It's been leaking down onto it. Yeah, all right. You know, it kind of, you can look at one part of a unit and it can tell you the history of the entire thing. So, and I was like, I can't, like, in all good conscience, I have to call someone like my support supervisor out here, because I can't leave this place with the gas on for your furnace, because it's a carbon monoxide thing, carbon monoxide threat. Because since I'm the last person to touch this unit professionally, it then comes on to me to be the one responsible. God forbid anything were to happen. Beautiful house, nice fucking home. Like this place was fucking killer, right? But she was kind of trying to figure things out. And it reminded me a lot of when my dad passed away, because my dad worked his ass off. He got us to the point where we did have a nice, like 6-7 bedroom home, big ass house, you know, all this stuff. And then my dad passed away, and then bills started coming up. And my dad passed away right before the bubble popped. So you can imagine how it destroyed my mom's entire reality, because they were making good money, but then they were a part of, you know, that whole thing. But my mom was able to go past the bubble for at least a couple years. She ended up selling the house anyway, years down the road. I think she sold the house in 2010, 2011. I think that's when I came home from deployment. It was 2012. 12? Yeah, 2012, 2013 time frame. Yeah, that's when she sold the house. But anyway, so I had this client, and I felt so bad for her. But it's like, I professionally have an obligation to have my supervisor come out because of how bad the heat exchanger is. You know, I professionally and morally have an obligation as a service tech, as a professional in this industry, to not leave the gas on. You know, I'm going to turn the gas off. You as a client, you can do whatever the hell you want, but I cannot in good conscience leave with this on and let you continue to use it. If I walk out this door and I leave and you turn it back on, that's all on you. But I have to document that I have turned it off, and, you know, kind of thing. Long story short, they figured out her situation, but she couldn't pay for a new unit, this, that, and the other. And this is the moment when my supervisor came out, and he was in there talking with her, they were trying to figure out how they were going to pay for this thing. I went out and I looked at and it was an older unit, but it wasn't like 30, 40 years old. It was probably like about 14 years old. And I looked at all the information. I was Googling stuff with the manufacturer, and it turns out that heat exchanger had a 15-year manufacturer, from the manufacturer date, it had a 15-year warranty on the heat exchanger. I did all the math. I looked at all the serial numbers and all that stuff, the model numbers. The unit was just shy. It was like 13 years and 8 months old. So the heat exchanger was covered by the manufacturer. And when my supervisor came out while she was on the phone with her family, trying to see if someone in her family could help pay for a brand new unit, and he was not just selling her he wasn't selling her just a heat exchanger, he wasn't selling her just a furnace, he was selling her everything. Furnace, evaporator coil, fucking new unit outside, and then with a couple added bells and whistles that were just thrown in that he told her was a part of it, but they were just additions to make the price more. And he came out and he's like, oh yeah, so you shut everything off, kind of got all tied up. She's gonna figure it out. We should know within the next 20 minutes if she can pay for this or not. We'll get this sale, don't worry. And I was like, no, I have good news. I just told him what I did. I looked at all this information. The heat exchanger is still under warranty. So that's the only thing wrong with it. I mean, I said it, you said it, we both looked at it now, and yeah, we can get a hold of the manufacturer. We can have them, ship one out to AC Pro. We could pick it up, or Johnstone, or wherever they send it to. We can go pick it up, and we can, the manufacturer will be the one to pay for the repair cost. And I could do a heat exchanger in like, 30 minutes once we have it here. So that's perfect. And he's like, don't tell her. But I was like, what? And he's like, I got her on the line for $18,000 for a brand new system, all bells and whistles. Okay. And it's like, Christmas is like in 3 weeks. Are you really gonna say no to this? And I was like, but this is the right thing to do though. The heat exchanger is under warranty. So yeah, would a new system be nice? Yeah, but she really can't pay for that. So shouldn't we just tell her about the heat exchanger? And he's like, no, don't tell her about it. And I think he makes, the way it works is we all make 10% across the board. So he makes 10% per sale, but he only, as a supervisor, he only focuses on units. So when he comes out to a place, his whole thing is to sell a brand new unit. So he came out and he was gonna make 10% of that $18,000. It's a lot of money. And then the finder's fee that I got, I think it was like 2 or 3% added on. So he makes 10%, then I make like 2.5% or however much it was for being the technician that brought him out. So I bring him out, he seals the deal. What happened to him? Nothing, he still works there. It was a great company. It's a good company. But at the end of the day, that's just how they operate. If there's a sale to be made, if the customer's about to say yes, then wait for them to say yes before you say anything else. What would have happened if no one in her family could have done anything? Eventually what would have come from it is we need to get something out of this. We've spent hours on trying to do this sale. We've been hours trying to do this job. So now what we'll do is, we're going to contact the manufacturer. Let's see if we can, see if there's anything we can do. Hey, we just talked to the manufacturer. Guess what? They can send you a new heat exchanger and they'll cover the cost for us to replace it for you. Does that work for you? You just have to pay the service fee for us coming out and do the maintenance today. Absolutely cool. All right, let's do it. Hey, since we got you on the line, we put this new heat exchanger in, just to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again, would you like to be part of our home service protection club? We come out twice a year. We make sure that that's the route that we would have taken. But eventually she called her mother, and her mother paid for the new unit. The worst part of all of that, is I did not get my finder fee for that. So, and then something that we always put down on the paperwork, it's something that we always put down in our timesheets and stuff. Whenever I was on a job with someone else, or if I called a supervisor out, I never got any of my percentages that I was told that I would get for bringing a supervisor out. My finder fee cut. One of the bigger ones was plumbing. So I would go to places, I may not make sales on stuff, but I would have plumbers come out. And because especially in a garage, I'm in a garage, I notice the water heater, I see, oh wait, there's some heavy corrosion up on those fittings. And what I would do is like, hey, since I'm out here, I'm going to be a little while doing this service. Do you mind if I have one of our plumbers do a complimentary look at your water heater? He's like, oh, why? What's wrong? And I'm like, well, I'm not an expert, but I have worked with our plumbers before, and I'm noticing there's some pretty heavy corrosion here. There might be something wrong with the aneroid rod. He's like, aneroid rod? I was like, well, that's just the rod inside that kind of eats up, like it's a sacrificial rod, you know, when you have on a lot of motors and stuff. It's just a piece of metal that kind of attracts all the minerals. But that's as far as I know about it. But like I said, it's perfectly, I'm going to be here anyway, and it's not going to cost you anything just to have a plumber come look. And he's like, you know, it's probably a good idea. Doing that, I would sell water heaters left and right, because I would have plumbers coming out, man. Like, and there was this one girl, there was a girl and a dude, those were the two plumbers. It's been years, and I didn't work there a crazy long time. I don't really remember these people's names, but I do remember that this female plumber and this really tall-ass male plumber, these two people were the fucking tits, man. These guys were awesome. Like, they were very knowledgeable, they were very experienced, they were very quick. And were they good salesmen? Yeah, but I loved good technicians. People that were really awesome technicians, I loved working with those people. And another reason why we helped out the plumbers is because doing HVAC, we know electrical. So on like electric water heaters, we would be the ones to come out and kind of help wire things together and stuff. Anyway, I get off on a tangent on all this stuff. I totally missed all of it. You get the bad part of the industry. Well, I've also, and that's why I like your vision for the channel. When I was working at Silver State out here in Vegas, I worked there for 2 weeks and quit. And that was commercial. And the reason why is I could not stand the people I worked with. And they were like the kind of guys that treated it like an old boys club. Like, they would shit talk me because I went to school for it. It's like, oh, you went to school, so you think you know everything. And I'm like, there's a long story there. Long story there. The company was nice. I did commercial. I got paid hourly. It was great. But at the end of the day, I just could not stand the people I worked with. You know, if something would fuck up on the job, they'd blame me, even if I literally had nothing to do with it. I got blamed for stuff that happened on jobs that I wasn't even at. Because, oh, let's just blame the new guy. So, hey, Zach, they said that you fucked this up. I'm like, I wasn't at that location. It's like, well, they said that's what you did. And like, how could I be there if I was on the other side of town with another guy at another job? Anyway, I'm just like daydreaming about it. I'm just so glad that I'm gone. I've never worked anywhere, like even in the military, I've never worked anywhere where I was so just blatantly disrespected. You know, it's one thing to haze the new guy. I'm perfectly fine with that. It happens in every industry. You know, let's show this guy the ropes. Let's show him what we're all about. Let's give him a hard time. Let's kind of put him through his paces. These guys would shit talk me and call me a bad father. They would say I'm going nowhere in life. One of them asked me like, oh, well, what do you do for fun outside of this? It's like, well, you know, I'm an aspiring author. I'm working on a book. He's like, oh, well, no one's ever going to buy it. You're never going to do anything with it. Like, they would get personal. It's one thing to shit talk me for like, I use Rigid, right? And these guys use Milwaukee and Makita. Milwaukee and Makita are like top tier in my opinion. But Rigid, I wouldn't consider fucking bargain bin by any means. Rigid, I think, do make very, very decent drills. Well, these guys would say that I had Bob the Builder tools. I'm like, I don't have fucking, I'm not like rocking fucking Black & Decker. I'm not rocking Ryobi, which Ryobi, I will say, does actually make a pretty good product. I personally don't use Ryobi, but I have in the past, and even if someone was using a Ryobi drill, I wouldn't shit talk the tools they had. The fact that they have tools at fucking all, Here's the thing though. These guys were like my age or younger. So like the lead technician that I was working with, he's been in HVAC since he was 18. HVAC since he was 18. When I was working there with him, he was 25, right? Or 24. 24, 23 to 24, whatever. He said he's been in HVAC, no, yeah, he's 23. So he started when he was 18 out of high school. He's 23 now. And he's been working HVAC his whole life. He's a lead technician. Here's the thing though, he never took his EPA. How the fuck are you a lead technician but you don't even have an EPA, universal EPA 608 certification, okay? How are you like even able to even touch a can of R24, R11, right? And then R410A. Like I said, it's been a while, but I'm trying to remember everything. Like, how are you even allowed to even do these things, okay? And you want to, and not just you saying this, but the company saying that you're a lead technician, but you don't really know jack shit. Well, you do know jack shit. Here's the thing. In-field experience, you can learn so much, more than I ever learned from school. I always encourage people, just go and start as a helper. Start as a helper, all right? Don't, get your foot in the door, start learning the trade, and then research and do all your due diligence, and then take the EPA out of your own pocket. Don't go to school and pay $18,000 to get an education in it. Learn this shit in the field. Spend $100 to take the EPA test. Get with a company that helps with NATE certification, and then do your NATE courses down the road as well. Like, these are all great things that are going to help propel you in this industry. And definitely try to go with a commercial company as opposed to residential. I would have called the EPA on the company, Mason, taking a video of me, getting that money. All right, so that other company, the one I worked for in Irvine or Lake Forest, it's right on the line. The very first day working for them, after I did orientation and all that stuff, the very first day working, the guy with the dirty truck, we went to a job. And it's funny because this was my first customer and my last customer. Interesting story there. So I go to this guy's house with Jeff, and we go and we're looking for a leak. And before we even left, he's like, "Oh, I don't have a reclaimer." No one had a reclaimer free. I'm like, "How do you not have a reclaimer in your truck?" Like, I thought every truck was supposed to have its reclaimer, but I guess they were down one. So we go to this job. He gets a bucket. He hooks up his gauges, to the high side, low side, whatever. No, to the high side. He hooks his gauges up to the unit. Fills the bucket with water. You're back to California, Mace. You might make it. Ooh, I appreciate that, but what makes you say that? He takes his gauges. It's one of the ones with the valve. So it has the stopper on it as well. So he undoes the valve, and then he pulls the stopper in, and then all this Freon's coming out, right? All this refrigerant, and he puts it in the bucket, and it's like bubbling up and stuff. And I'm like, thinking in my head, I should have taken a video of that. But the company would have like fucking sued me like to no end, because the owner of this company was like really fucking wealthy. He wouldn't have fucked around. Like, yeah, I might have gotten money from the EPA, but the company had all kinds of paperwork they had me fill out, like NDAs and shit like that. So even if I would have, that's the thing, if I would have gone forward to the EPA, the company would have sued me. There's a whole lot of different reasons why, but I didn't, just in the moment, I didn't think of it. But I should have busted out my phone and recorded it. And the thing is I told this, I was like, "Why are you just dumping it out?" He's like, "Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do." And I'm like, "So when we finish this isolation test and we hook his unit back together, are we gonna refill it with gas or what?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna charge him for how much refrigerant it's gonna be." It's like, dude, you're gonna put like, how many, 10, 15 pounds, however much fucking refrigerant back in this thing that you just let off into the atmosphere. I might be Republican and everything, but I'm still pro environment. So anyway, I told at another job with Silver State, these guys, I was working with them on this job one day, and I was telling them about that story. And I was like, "Yeah, man, I should have taken a video and, gotten paid by the EPA for that. And I kind of made a joke out of it. And the guys I was working with, like, that's fucked up, man. It's like, you just don't get it. Like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do on jobs. And I'm like, you do realize how fucked up that is. Like, it's against the EPA. It's against everything that we stand for in our profession. It's like, he's like, oh, yeah, you just got to make it happen, man. And it's like, it's one of those, and these were guys that were younger than me that were saying this. And it's like, it's just sad when you see people not take their job seriously. And someone that works, like, if their boss would, like, if like at Calca, if our boss would have known, that they did that, he would have been pissed. But if no one got caught, he's like, well, just try not to do it in the future. But it's funny because at that day, that morning, when Jeff asked our manager, hey, do we have a reclaimer? He's like, no, we don't have any. He's like, damn it. And our manager's like, well, grab a bucket. So he's the one that gave him the idea. Anyway, I know I'm saying a lot of shit, but yeah, EPA overwrites all those paperwork. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, so my thing, it's just, at the end of the day, it's whatever. I know that I'm saying things that might make the company look bad, but I really did like working for that company. It was a good group of guys. Every company that you work with, there's gonna be some bad shit, okay? The best company in the world, there's gonna be a discrepancy. No one's perfect. The number one thing I loved about these guys is very close lines of communication between the office staff, fleet management, and the actual technicians. So getting our stuff scheduled for our jobs was way too easy. Then dealing with training. We had mandatory training all the time. So at least once a week we would have people come in, this, that, and the other. Really weird thing, one of our trainers was my girlfriend's stepdad. He trains sales staff all over the country for the Air Scrubber. He works for Air Scrubber, and he actually lives out here in Vegas. We see him every holiday. We go over and have dinner with him and stuff. It's her stepdad. So he came out to a meeting once, and I've met him a couple times before, but I guess he didn't recognize me. So I go to this meeting. I'm like, oh, hey, it's so-and-so. And we're talking and stuff, and he just doesn't recognize me at all. And I was like, you know who I am, right? He's like, well, you work for this company. I'm like, well, yeah. Your son's name is this. Your wife's name is this. Your stepdaughter's name is this. And he's like, he got this really creeped out look on his face, like, how do you know all that? I'm like, your stepdaughter's pregnant with my son. She's actually out in Las Vegas visiting her mom right now. He's like, oh, you're right, you're Mace, that's right. I was like, he's like, oh, it's nice to finally meet you. And I'm like, we've met before, like several times we've met before. Anyway, that's a stupid story. Tell all the new guys and the old guys, don't do anything illegal because I'm not a good liar. So your choice. Oh, yeah. That's a good one. That's really good, actually. Like, I'm not a good liar, so don't do anything illegal because I can't cover for you. I need to do some stuff. I don't want to kill the stream just yet. I'm enjoying talking with you guys. You know what would help Macy Boy out a whole lot? Oh, you know what? I don't know why, but it hasn't... Oh, congratulations. God, being a parent, man, really changes your whole perspective on life, living in reality, you know? I need to finish going through this car and cleaning it, so... Is there anything else, you guys? Because I could just sit here and talk all day, but I do have to get home at some point. Also, I don't know. No. I think I'm just going to do that. I'm going to finish cleaning out this car, and then I'm going to bounce. As always, in Miro, so glorious and beloved Mace Valor. Signing off.